Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions related to cost of capital, we discussed about the methodology of computation of individual costs of capital, different types of costs of capital depending upon the source of finance, cost of debt, cost of preference shares, cost of equity, cost of retained earnings also, how to calculate them individually also we learned in the earlier sessions. Also, the procedure for computation of weighted average cost of capital also we discussed in the previous session. While calculating weighted average cost of capital, the weights can be taken as book value weights or market value weights as the requirement may be. That variation also we discussed. And one of the important aspects, like what is the difference between cost of equity and cost of retained earnings. Normally there will not be any difference, but when there are flotation costs or personal taxes, then there will be difference between those two. So such a crucial concepts we discussed in the previous sessions. Now let us continue with one more important concept, though logically there is nothing new, only that the situation is different. This concept is marginal cost of capital. So what is marginal anytime? Marginal means 1 plus. Marginal cost. What is the cost of producing one more unit? Marginal revenue. What is the cost? What is the revenue generated by selling one more unit? Like that, marginal cost of capital means what is the cost of raising additional rupee of finance? Whatever the additional rupee that we are going to raise freshly, what is the marginal cost of capital of that additional financing is the concept of marginal cost of capital. So naturally, when we look at marginal cost of capital, if all the information is given, like what are the additional sources of finance and what is the amounts, then the methodology of computation of marginal cost of capital is the same as that of weighted average cost of capital, because end of the day the computations are same. But the point is, in case of marginal cost of capital, we use marginal weights, in the sense only the additional raising of capital will be considered. Existing capital structure will be ignored. That is the difference. So if marginal cost of capital is asked, we have to look at only what are the additional sources of finance, how much extra to be raised from preference, how much extra to be raised from debt or equity, and what is their proportion in the capital structure, which is a proposed new fresh capital structure. If that weights are known, those are marginal weights, then respective costs of capital will anyway be calculated. Then computation of marginal cost of capital is the same as that of weighted average cost of capital. So this is also same computation wise, only the context is changing. In case of normally when we calculate weighted average cost of capital, we are calculating the weighted average cost of capital of the current capital structure, existing capital structure. In case of marginal cost of capital, we are calculating same weighted average cost of capital for the fresh capital structure. Whatever the fresh source of finance which are going to be raised, which are about to be raised, intended to be raised, those will be taken into consideration while calculating marginal cost of capital. That is the only difference. And one more point is also imperative to be noted, that is the individual costs of capital need not be same for the existing capital structure and the new capital structure. Why? Because usually when new finance is raised, normally the individual costs of capital also will rise. Already if there is existing equity, preference and debt, if a new debt, new equity and new preference are going to be issued, then they will not be generally coming with the same cost. Usually that will be having a bigger cost. That is a general tendency, because already there is a existing firm with a lot of debt and other things in the capital structure. When new sources are raised, expectations will be more. Expectations more means cost of capital also will be more possible. Also in some cases, particularly related to debt, there may be a kind of situation where, let us say for example, up to 10 lakhs rupees we can raise the debt at 7% only, maybe. But if between 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs, maybe cost may be increased to 8% and so on. So the debt capital, particularly when more and more debt is issued, it will be more and more costly. So naturally what happens, same cost of debt related to the existing capital structure may not be relevant for marginal cost of capital. That might be slightly or majorly higher than the existing cost of capital. That is one thing. Also, when new equity is issued, for example, there also the cost of equity would be high, because freshly if you are issuing equity shares, there will be flotation costs. So naturally the cost of equity also starts rising. So when new sources are looked at for raising the capital, then naturally the average cost of capital also will rise. That is one more phenomena that can be observed generally when we look at marginal cost of capital. Is it compulsory every time it will happen? No, it all depends upon the information given in the question. If it is given so, then yes, that is a possible phenomena, more practical phenomena. If not given, same existing cost of capital will continue. Only weights will change. Other than that, everything else will be same. So concept of computation of marginal cost of capital is nothing different from the computation of normal weighted average cost of capital. Only context is changing. In case of regular calculation, so far what we have done, we are talking about existing capital structure. Now we have to look at new capital structure, which is a fresh proposed capital structure. Let us understand this marginal cost of capital concept with this illustration number 18. Such question was given in the examinations also earlier for 10 marks. So ABC Limited has the following capital structure. Examine, which is considered to be optimum already. There is nothing to examine. Already they are saying it is optimum capital structure. So 14% debentures are there already. Those are different. Existing, this is not a new. 11% preference shares are already there. Equity shares are there, 10,000 shares with 1,60,000 rupees of capital. That is equity share capital. So total 2 lakhs rupees is the existing capital structure. If at all, for percentage calculations, if you take, how much of that is debt here, debentures, it is 15%. Existing capital structure. Preference shares, how much? 10,000 divided by 2 lakhs. That will be around 5%. Naturally, remaining 80% is equity. So this is the existing capital structure in percentage terms or weightage wise. 100% capital structure is financed like this, which is again already existing capital structure. Now the new things are coming. Company share has a market price of 23.6 rupees. That is what? P naught. P naught is 23.6 rupees. Then next year dividend, next year, these words are important to be noted. Next year dividend per share is 50% of the 2017 EPS. So then where is 2017 EPS? It is given in the question as a table. So 2017 EPS is going to be 2.36. So 50% of that, half of that, that is D1 is going to be naturally 1.18. So D1 is given. Indirectly, we can find it from the table. And P naught is already given, which is current market price. The following is the trend of EPS for the preceding 10 years, which is expected to continue in future. So this trend is also an important point here, because this gives us inherently what is the growth rate. So what is the growth rate which is inherent in this trend? That has to be observed. It is not given directly. Indirectly it is given. We can observe that easily if you take any 2 years. What is a growth rate between the EPS of any 2 years? Any 2 years you can take. So new by old minus 1, if you take 1.46, let us say 2012 divided by 1.33 minus 1 into 100. So that can be same around 10%. So any 2 particular years growth rate, if you want to calculate, that can be coming to approximately 10% only. So 1 to 1.1, 10%, another 10%, another 10%. Approximately we can see that. So let us say 2016 to 17 also 2.15 plus 10%, approximately 2.36 approximately. So growth rate we can definitely say 10%. That is observed from any 2 years data, which is evident from the table. That is some information which is hidden within the table, which we have to find out. That is not separately given. So we have D1, we have P naught, we have G. So naturally that can be used for computation of cost of equity. We'll come to that. Further information is given. The company issued New debentures carrying 16% rate of interest. Current market price of debentures is 96 rupees. That is one thing. Another thing is preference shares with 9.2, that is issue price. Annual dividend of 1.1 per share were also issued. Tax rate of the company which is applicable is 50%. That is the additional information. What is required here? First thing first, calculate after tax cost of new debt, cost of new preference shares, new equity shares. So all of them have to be calculated. All of them what are asked here are new things. So one by one we can calculate. Simply cost of debt. So cost of debt, if you take, since the rate of interest is given as 16%, that is we can take 100 rupees as the face value. Market price is given as 96, so naturally face value can be taken as 100, though it is not clearly given. Not necessarily that it will be given all the times. You have to take it from the information that is available. So 100 rupees face value, on that 16% interest means I will be how much? 16 rupees. Each year interest will be 16 rupees on each debenture. 1 minus tax rate, I into 1 minus tax rate, that is 1 minus 0.5 divided by net proceeds. Net proceeds is how much? 96 rupees only. So how much will that be? Cost of debt. So 16, half of that is 8 divided by 96 into 100. So that cost of debt comes to 8.33%. There is no redeemable value given, no other information given, number of years is also not given. So we cannot use the cost of debt formula which is applicable for redeemable debentures. So we don't need to know that. When there is no option, we have to use the formula for redeemable debentures only. I into 1 minus tax rate divided by net proceeds. That's all. That is 8.33%. Now KP also can be directly calculated using the data available. Dividend is given as 1.1, that is preference dividend. No tax benefit will be there. So preference dividend divided by net proceeds is going to be 9.2. That's it. So 1.1 divided by 9.2 multiplied with 100. So preference share capital's cost is going to be around 11.96%, let us say. 11.96% approximately. That is second thing that is asked. So cost of new debt is known, already what we calculated. Cost of new preference shares is calculated. New equity shares can also be calculated, assuming the new equity is from retained earnings. Anyway, it doesn't matter because there is no flotation cost, etc. given. So cost of equity and cost of retained earnings will be same if there is no flotation cost, if there is no personal taxes information given. But formula is same, D1 by P0 plus G. So D1 is how much? 1.18 divided by P0 how much? 23.6. Right? Plus growth rate how much? 10%. That is 0.1. So 1.18 divided by 23.6 plus 0.1 means 0.15. That means 15% is the cost of equity. So we have all the three which are asked here. So 8.33%, 11.96% and 15%. That is the answer for A bit. Now moving on to B question. Calculate marginal cost of capital when no new shares are issued. So marginal cost of capital is asked to be calculated. But do we know the composition of the new capital which is going to be issued? We don't know. So what can be the only way we can do it? Using the same percentage of capital structure, because this is considered to be optimum. Since no new other capital structure is given, same weightage is presumed to be taken for new issue also. So we have to go back to the original methodology of computation of weighted average cost of capital. So one is component of capital or source of finance, whatever you can call it. Then individual cost of capital. Then weightage or percentage proportion, let us call it weights. Then weighted cost. Source of finance, any particular sequence you can take, but be careful, you are having exact proportions against them. So let us take in the sequence which we already have. One is debentures, but it is not 14% debentures. What you have to write here? You have to write 16% debentures. This is not existing. We are talking about new. So 16% debentures is one. Then second one is not 11%. I think 11% only, because 1.1 per share it is given. So 1.1 on 10 rupees, let us say, could be the face value, will be naturally 11%. So 11% preference shares, but these are new preference shares, not the same ones. The percentage dividend may be same, but that does not mean they are existing shares. They are new shares, no problem. Then equity share capital, whatever it is. So then that is one thing. Cost of capital individually we have calculated. KD, cost of new debt, was how much? 8.33%. So 0.0833. That is debentures cost. 11.96%. So 0.1196. Then 15%. 0.15. That is equity. So we have cost of capital individually, which we already calculated. Point comes with weights. Is there any new weights given? Anything information given about what is going to be the new capital structure ratio? Nothing given. So naturally there is no option. We have to take the same ratio. What is the existing ratio? 15% for debt, 0.05 means 5% for preference shares, 0.8 means 80% for equity shares. Same weight has to be taken. As I told you, make sure total of weights is equal to 1. Then it is all multiplication and total. So multiply that and total that. You need to be doing at least 4 decimals. At least 4. Because percentage wise at least 2 decimals will emerge. Then we have this total of it. In percentage terms, it is going to be 13.85%. What is this? That's what is asked. Marginal cost of capital when the new capital is issued. That is going to be how much? 13.85%. Always write as an expression percentage. 13.85%. Don't just leave the calculations. Give the final conclusion also. That is the B question. Now moving on to C. This asks, determine the amount that can be spent for capital investment before new ordinary shares must be sold, assuming that retained earnings for next year's investment is 50% of 2017. So how much retained earnings are going to be? That is going to be 50% of 2017's earnings. So in 2017, first of all, how much are the earnings per share? 2.36, right? So 2.36, 50% of that is 1.18. So 1.18 per share. That means 10,000 shares, how much will be the earnings? So earnings wise, how much earnings will be there? Retained earnings as given in the question. 10,000 shares multiplied with 1.18. So 11,800 rupees retained earnings will be there as given in the C bit. Keeping that in mind, how much amount can be spent for capital investment? That is the question. Now here we have to apply the logic. This 11,800 is only retained earnings. So this is not representing the 100% of capital. This is representing how much? Only 80% of capital. Then how much 100% will represent? So simply 11,800 multiplied with 100 by 80. So how much amount of capital investment can be made? 14,750 rupees worth of capital investment can be made, out of which 11,800 can be taken from retained earnings, which is only representing 80% of the overall capital. So the question asked here is, how much money can be spent for capital investment without raising any new shares? Because you don't need to raise shares in this case. No new shares are required. If your investment is 14,750, you can finance that, if not completely, 80% of that from retained earnings, which is going to be 11,800. How did we get 11,800? As given in the C bit. Investment, retained earnings for the next year's investment will be 50% of 2017. EPS of 2017 was 2.36. Half of that is 1.18. Multiplied with 10,000 equity shares, we will get 11,800 earnings, which is retained earnings. And that represents 80% only. Then how much investment can be made? That is 14,750. Anyway, to be frank, this question is not so technically valid. Why? Because retained earnings is something which will not be related to only 1 year's earnings. it will be accumulated profit. So all these years also there could be retained earnings already, right? We don't know how much is that. So only assumption from that question what we have to take is in all these years, whatever earnings was there, they distributed everything as dividend. Means there were no retained earnings. Only for 2017 EPS only 50% they are going to distribute as dividend, 50% they are going to retain. If that is the assumption, then only C point will be valid. Otherwise, retained earnings is not about only 1 year's situation, but it is given in the C point that it is only related to 1 year's situation. We have to take it as given, no option. That was C bit. Then coming to the other question D, compute the marginal cost of capital when the fund exceeds the amount calculated in C, assuming new equity is issued at 20 rupees per share. So if the new equity is issued at 20 rupees per share, how much is going to be the marginal cost of capital is the question. Naturally, when new shares are supposed to be issued, only when the retained earnings are not sufficient. So new shares have to be issued. When they are going to be issued, the issue price is going to be 20 rupees. So what it will change? It will change cost of equity. So we have to recalculate cost of equity. So what is the cost of equity now? New, fresh cost of equity, because we are not going for retained earnings. We are going for new shares. So dividend expected is going to be same, that is 1.18. But now new shares are issued at 20. So 20 has to be taken in the denominator plus 0.0. Sorry, how much was the growth rate? 10%. So 0.1. D1 by P naught plus G same. But what is P naught here? P naught is not current market price. Since it is a fresh issue, whatever the new issue price is, that will be P naught. So 1.18 divided by 20 plus 0.1 means 15.9% will be the cost of equity when if you have to issue new shares. You cannot finance from retained earnings. Then you have to recalculate the marginal cost of capital, which we already calculated. So let us recalculate that. Everything else is same. The weights are same because there is no other weights or no other thing is given. Only thing what changes here is cost of equity now is not 0.15. It is 0.159. What it will change the overall cost of capital, marginal cost of capital. Now the marginal cost of capital can be 14.57%. That's it. You have to do these calculations. It's not going to be a click of button for you. You have to definitely substitute. Same amount, same thing, everything same. Only cost of capital for equity will change. Why it changed? Because when new shares are issued, the selling price has changed. That means P naught has changed in the formula. Naturally, KE will change. How much is the new one? 15.9%. Substitute that, then you will get a marginal cost of capital, fresh one, is 14.57%. That is about marginal cost of capital. And when a new capital is raised, how to calculate the cost of capital is nothing but marginal cost of capital. If you observe the procedure, there is nothing new. Everything is same. Only the context is different. And if the new capital structure is given separately, then we have to use that. In this case, it is not given. So we have to use existing capital structure percentage only. Percentage wise, same percentage of weights is going to be there for new capital structure also, is an underlying assumption that we have to take in that particular context. That's it. That concludes the conceptual understanding and discussion related to the cost of capital, individual also, weighted average also, and marginal cost of capital also. Right? So various aspects of costs of capital, we discussed about them in this chapter. Now let us move on to solving some of the questions given at the end of the chapter. Looking at question number 1, Gamma Limited has in issue 5 lakhs number, that is 1 rupee ordinary shares whose ex-dividend market price is 1.5 per share. Company has just paid a dividend of 27 paise per share, and dividends are expected to continue at this level for some time. Means D0 is also 27 paise, D1 is also 27 paise. If the company has no debt capital, compute the weighted average cost of capital. See, when the company has only one source of finance, whatever that cost individually will be itself weighted average cost of capital. There is not going to be any separate weighted average cost of capital. It is not an examination standard question. It is only for practice. Cost of equity itself is cost of overall cost of capital also, which is called KO. Both are same in this case. How much is that? Same formula, D1 by P naught plus G. Is there any growth rate given? No. They are expected to continue at the same level, means there is no growth rate. Simply D1 by P naught. So 27 paisa means 0.27 rupees. Current market price is 1.5. So straightforward calculation. 0.27 divided by 1.5 multiplied with 100, of course, will be 18%. That itself is cost of equity also. That itself is overall cost of capital also. That is question number 1. Question number 2. Following details are provided by GPS Limited. Where they are. Equity share capital is 65 lakhs. Then preference share capital 12 lakhs. Redeemable debentures 15% redeemable debentures 20 lakhs. 10% convertible debentures 8 lakhs. The cost of equity capital is already given. We don't have to compute that, which is 16.3%. Income tax rate for the company is 30%. Then what is required? You are required to calculate weighted average cost of capital of the company. So again, only for practice. Can't be expected for a 10 marks question. Maybe for 5 marks it's okay. That also is like little not so suitable. But still, for a regular type of calculation, these things can be asked for 5 marks maximum. So source of finance, cost of capital, weights, weighted average cost of capital. Same format. We have to have one more here. So source of finance, same way you have to write that. Full forms, equity share capital, 12%. You have to write very clearly. For 5 marks you will not get automatically. Then 15%. What are these things? Redeemable debentures. Then 10% convertible debentures. So what is the component or cost of capital individually? Let us first take, then we can take weights. So cost of capital, how much here? For equity share capital, how much? Equity share capital, it is going to be 16.3%, which means 0.163. 0.163. Preference share capital, no other information is given. That means 12% itself. If it is a 12% preference capital, cost of preference will be 12% only. Nothing else. So that is preference cost of capital. 15% redeemable debentures. Now you have to take interest and the tax rate also into consideration. Debentures are 15% debentures. No other information is there. Net proceeds and all not required. So simply whatever the interest rate is into 1 minus tax rate will give you effectively what is the cost of that debt. So 15 into 0.7. So effectively it will be 10.5%. That is the cost of debt for redeemable debentures. These things. 10.5%. Means 0.105. Then 10% convertible debentures. Normally their interest rate or coupon rate is 10%, tax rate is 30%, means 7% only will be effectively cost of debt because of tax benefit. So 7% means 0.07. These are the individual costs of capital. That's it. That is the cost of capital individually. Now weights you have to calculate. Weights you can calculate in a working note separately. That will be better also. So let us take the weights here by taking individual amounts first. So 65 lakhs, that is equity share capital. Then 12 lakhs. Then 20 lakhs amounts. Then 8 lakhs. Total is how much? Do the total. Total is going to be around 1 crore 5 lakhs. Now what is going to be the weight there? Individual amount divided by total. Do the calculation. So 62%, 11%, 19%, 8%. Converted to decimals 0.62, 0.11, 0.19, 0.08. So total of this weights has to be 1. Check that. Then we have weighted cost, which is nothing but multiplication of cost of capital individually multiplied with weights. Take 4 decimals. Then the total weighted average cost of capital will be 14%. That is the answer. That's it. That is question number 2. Of course, it will take some time for you to calculate on paper with calculator, no doubt. But which you have to do that. Next, those are just multiplications and additions. Calculation of weights can be done in a separate working notes. Next, question number 3. ABC company's equity share is quoted in the market at 25 rupees per share. That is, we can call it as P0, which is 25. Currently, the company pays a dividend of 2 rupees per share and the investors market expects a growth rate of 6% per year. So the point here is, the words used are pays a dividend of 2 rupees per share. It is not going to, it is not telling that it is going to pay. It will pay next year. No, that means what is given there is not D1. What is given there is D0. D0 is 2 rupees, which means automatically D1 will be how much? After adding 6% to that, add 6% to 2 rupees. That will be 2.12. Formula wise, D0 into 1 plus G. We don't need all that. Simply 2 plus 6%. 2.12 is the D1. First thing first, what is required is calculate the company's cost of equity capital. Let us directly calculate that. We have all the things. D1 2.12 divided by P0 25 plus growth rate is 0.06. D1 by P0 plus G. Direct formula, Gordon's growth model. 2.12 divided by 25 plus 0.06. Multiply with 100. 14.48%. That is the answer. Right? That is KE. Second question. If the company issues 10% debentures of face value 100 rupees each and realizes 96 per debenture, while the debentures are redeemable after 12 years at a premium of 12%. Premium of 12% means how much is going to be paid? 100 rupees face value debenture will get 112 rupees. That is the redemption value. Redeemable value is 112. Now net proceeds is 96. Okay, that is the issue price, we can say. Calculate the cost of debentures. So far is okay. Using YTM, yield to maturity method. So we cannot use our standard formula, interest into 1 minus tax rate plus RV minus NP by N divided by RV plus NP by 2. No, we cannot use that. That is only an approximation method, less scientific. But still, if YTM method is not particularly asked, you can very well conveniently use that method. Don't worry about it. Don't use a YTM method if it is not asked. But here it is asked. So we have to use that. Means time value of money has to be considered. In other words, we have to calculate IRR. At what discount rate, if we discount these cash flows, it will become 0. Which means the present value of the future cash flows will be equal to 96. So what are going to be the future cash flows? Definitely interest is going to be there. Interest is going to be how much? Let us do this calculation separately. So this is the 10% debentures of 100 rupees each, which means interest is going to be definitely 10 rupees each year. 1 minus tax rate means, let us remember the tax rate here, which is 50%, which means interest is going to be only 5 rupees each year. Like that, how many years? 12 years. So we have to take PVIFA for some percentage of discount rate for 12 years, right? Plus end of the period 12th year, the debentures are going to be redeemable at 12% premium, which means 112 rupees is going to be there, which has to be paid to the debenture holders. When is that? That happens end of 12th year. So we have to take PVIF for some rate at 12th year. PVIFA for 12 years, PVIF for 12th year. So at some rate, whatever rate we take, ideally that should be equal to 96. It will not be equal. That is why we have to use trial and error method by taking some percentage for 12 years. Anything let us take. So let us say 10%, just for 10% debentures, right, already. So it could be less than that. Maybe because premium is there, it could be 10% also. Okay, why to predict and why to do that? It's okay. Definitely tax rate 50% means effectively 5% only will be there. So 10% is too high, not required. So let us take anything less than that. Let us say 7% just for as a trial and error method. In examination, these tables have to be given in the question itself. So So 7% is 1 point and 12 years is another point. So 7% 12 years. So that is 0.444. Okay. So we are taking how much now here? 7%. At 7%, what is going to be NPV? Let us calculate. So 5 multiplied with, we'll come to the PVFA part later. We already have PVIF here, which is 0.444. Now we need to also take PVIFA, annuity factor, for same percentage, which is 7% as we have taken, and 12 years. 12 years, 7%. How much will that be? 7%, 12 years. So it is going to be this much. 7.943. Okay, 7.943. Do the calculation and let us see whether NPV is positive or negative. 5 multiplied with 7.943, M plus 112 multiplied with 0.444, M plus, total is coming to 89.443. Which means NPV is going to be negative. Minus 96 if you take. NPV is going to be minus 6.557. So it is negative. We have to make it positive. How can we do that? When NPV is negative, already it is NPV 2. We have to understand that. We have to make it positive means we have to decrease the rate. 7% we already took. Now let us take 5%. This will be R1. This is R2 already. So R1 5%, same calculation. 5 multiplied with 5% we are taking now. 12 years, 5%, 8.863. 8.863 plus 112 multiplied with, going to the PVIFs, 12 years only, at 5%. 5%, 12 years. That will be 0.557. Now calculate how much is going to be the value of it. 5 multiplied with 8.863, then 112 multiplied with 0.557. Total is going to be, let me just repeat it, 5 multiplied with 8.863, 112 multiplied with 0.557. Total is coming to 106.7 approximately. 106.7. Whereas original issue price is only 96. That means NPV is going to be how much there? Positive 10.7 approximately. So 10.7 we have positive NPV, which is NPV 1, and we have a negative NPV of 6.557. All that we need to do is substitute in the IRR formula. That is R1 plus means 5 plus 10.7 NPV 1 divided by 10.7 minus of minus becomes plus 6.557 NPV 2, right? Multiplied with R2 minus R1 here is 2%. So do the calculation. 10.7 plus 6.557, first keep it in memory. Then 10.7 divided by that, multiply with 2 plus 5, directly will give you 6.24%. That is the answer. That is the cost of debt. That is a YTM. That is a yield to maturity for this particular debenture. So answer is how much here? 6.24%. That's it. So YTM method is nothing but application of IRR. That is question number 3. Now, moving on to question number 4. Masco Limited wishes to raise additional finance of 10 lakhs rupees for meeting its investment plan. So total amount it wants to raise is 10 lakhs rupees. It has 2,10,000 in the form of retained earnings available for investment purposes. Okay, already retained earnings are there, amount is given. And further details are as follows. Debt to equity mix is 3:7. So main point we have to understand is, okay, they require total 10 lakhs. In that, how much is going to be debt, how much is going to be equity. Debt is going to be 30%, 3:7 means 3 lakhs. Equity is going to be 7 lakhs. That is first point. Then cost of debt is not same, it is changing. Cost of debt up to 1,80,000 rupees, it is going to be 10% before tax. Beyond 1,80,000, how much our amount it is? That will be 16% before tax. So we need to have two different costs of debt. That is one point. EPS is given 4 rupees. Dividend payout is 50% of earnings. Dividend payout is nothing but DPS by EPS. So how much will be DPS then? EPS multiplied with dividend payout. So 50% of 4 rupees is 2 rupees. So this is normal dividend. That is D naught. But expected growth rate in dividend is 10%. So 2 rupees plus 10% means naturally how much will that be? That will be 2 plus 10%. 2.2 rupees is what D1. That is given indirectly. Current market price P naught is given as 44. Tax rate is given as 50%. That is also an important information. Now first point is to determine the pattern for raising the additional finance. What is the pattern of raising additional finance is the first question. So that can be a type of descriptive question actually, but it has to be clearly shown. What is the total amount of funds required? That is 10 lakhs. In that total amount of funds required, how much is debt, how much is equity? Debt is going to be 3 lakhs and equity is going to be 7 lakhs. And within this 3 lakhs also there are two types of debt, not one type, because up to 1,80,000, 10% debt is also there. So 10% debt in this 3 lakhs is 1,80,000. Then the other debt is going to be not a 10% debt, that will be a 16% debt. That will be naturally 1,20,000. So there are two different types of debts within this 3 lakhs also. And same way within equity also there are two new things. One thing is retained earnings, because already out of 7 lakhs there is 2,10,000 retained earnings. You don't need to raise fresh capital for that. That is also part of equity. 2,10,000 retained earnings. Fresh equity to be issued how much? 7 lakhs minus 2,10,000. 4,90,000. That's what is the way of financing. So totally how many are there? 4 things are there. There is 10% debt, 16% debt, retained earnings, equity. These are the 4 different sources of finance from which the fresh requirement of 10 lakhs is going to be raised. That was asked in first question. Determine the pattern for raising the additional finance. Second question is to determine the post-tax average cost of additional debt only debt. Read the question carefully. It is not asking about weighted average cost of capital. Now, only post-tax average cost of additional debt only is asked. So, cost of debt is going to be different because the tax rate is 50%. Easily we can say cost of debt for this 1,80,000 will be 5% because 50% is tax rate. Cost of debt here will be 8%. Okay. Now, what is going to be the average cost of only additional debt? So we are calculating a mini weighted average cost of capital type, not like exactly, but a kind of similar to that. Only debt we are talking about. So what is the type of debt we are talking about here? Only 2 types of debt are there. One is say 10% debt. Second one is 16% debt. What is the cost of capital for 10% debt? Because no other information is there, only tax rate is there, 5% will be the cost of capital for that 10% debt. 8% will be the cost of capital for 16% debt naturally, since tax rate is 50%. What is the weightage of this? Weightage you have to take. Weightage of 10% debt is how much? 1.8 lakhs in 3 lakhs. That is going to be 60%. 60% means 0.6. And 16% debt is 1,20,000 out of 3 lakhs. That will be 40%. That's it. So what is the average cost of additional debt only? Only debt is going to be 6.2%. That is the answer for B bit. 6.2%. Then C bit asks to determine the cost of retained earnings and cost of equity. First of all, will there be any difference? Cost of equity and cost of retained earnings in this case. When no information is about flotation costs, when no information about personal taxes, cost of equity and cost of retained earnings will be same. That is going to be not different. Formula is simple. D1 by P naught plus G. D1 2.2, P naught is given 44 plus growth rate is given as 10%. 0.1. That's it. That is the cost of retained earnings and cost of equity. 2.2 divided by 44 plus 0.1. That comes to 15%. That is the cost of retained earnings also and cost of equity also. That is C bit. Then the D bit asks compute the overall weighted average after tax cost of additional finance. Means total marginal cost of capital, you can call it. Weighted average cost of capital for the fresh financing, we can call it. Whatever way it is, that has to be calculated. Same like what we did before with the numbers different only. We can take only two things also, equity and debt, because already we have the average cost of debt. Otherwise, we can take separately also, which is better, so that it gives better clarity for us also. So first thing first, let us take equity, share capital, and then let us take retained earnings. Then let us take two types of debt are there. One is 10% debt. Second one is 16% debt. That's it. Now individual costs of capital. Individual cost of capital for cost of equity also it is going to be same. Cost of retained earnings also it is same. So 0.15. 0.15. Then what about debt? 10% debt is going to be 0.05. 16% debt is going to be 0.08. How much are going to be the amounts here, which we already calculated in the first bit. So how much is going to be equity share capital? Take the respective amount. 4,90,000 is going to be the equity share capital. How much is going to be the retained earnings in the total capital structure? That is 2,10,000. How much is going to be 10% debt? 1,80,000. How much is going to be 16% debt? 1,20,000. Total is going to be 10 lakhs. Okay, this is the overall new capital structure. For that, we have weights here, which is weights will be naturally different. So these are the weights: 49%, 21%, 18%, and 12%. Total of weights should be 1. So that is weights. Then multiplying the individual cost with the overall weighted overall weights, we get weighted cost. Totaling all of that, we will get weighted average cost of capital. That's what is asked in the fourth question. That is D bit. Answer is 12.36%. So that is the overall weighted average after tax cost of additional finance. That is question number 4. Let's move on to question number 5. Determine the cost of capital of Best Luck Limited using book value weights and market value weights from the following information. Book values are given, market values are also given. So equity shares and retained earnings, then preference shares, then debentures. All of them, the details of the capital structure of the company are given. From that, we have to find out the cost of capital, weighted average cost of capital naturally for this company Best Luck Limited. Further information is given. Equity shares, additional information. Equity shares are quoted at 130 rupees per share and a new issue priced at 125 per share will be fully subscribed. Flotation cost will be 5 rupees per share. So if at all a new issue is made, that will be priced at 125 rupees per share and flotation cost will be 5 rupees per share. In other words, net proceeds from the new issue can only be 120 per share. That is a information about equity. Then dividend. During the previous 5 years, dividends have steadily increased from 10.6 rupees to 14.19 rupees per share. That means there is a growth in dividends. So this information is given to find out the growth rate. Again, we can take present value tables looking at future value interest rate factors or compound factors. From 10.6, how come it became 14.19? So 14.19 divided by 10.6, that is 1.338 or 339. And if we look at the future value tables, which are compound factors, within 5 years, at what rate it will become 1 rupee will become 1.339 rupees within 5 years. 1.339, 1.338 approximately is coming to 6%. So automatically we can directly identify that 6% is the growth rate. But once again, in the examinations, is it possible always to refer to the table? Not necessarily. That is why we should be going with an approximation method. Simple way is looking at an average growth rate as a percentage, which is not a compounded growth rate, but it's a simple average. And somewhere below that only the compounded growth rate will be there. For example, from 10.6 to 14.19, if it has become new divided by old minus 1 will give overall growth. How much happened in these 5 years? 14.19 divided by 10.6 minus 1 multiplied with 100, around 33.87% growth happened in how many years? 5 years. On an average, how much would have happened each year divided by 5? Around 6.77%. This is a normal non-compounding growth rate. As a rough calculation, we can do that. Definitely compounded growth rate will be less than that. So, which is a round figure below this 6.77, that can be taken as 6%. And you can test that. You have to test that whether 6% is correct or not. That can be done manually, no problem. 10.6 is the original dividends. After that, add 6% 5 times, plus 6%, again plus 6%, plus 6%, plus 6%, plus 6%. 5 times, if you add, how much it is coming? 14.185, which is nothing but 14.19. So 6% is the growth rate we have to infer from the data that is given, that is G 6%. Now dividend at the end of the current year is expected to be 15 rupees. Expected automatically means already D1 is given. D1 is 15 rupees per share. That is about growth rate and D1. Then third point tells about preference shares. There are 15% preference shares with face value of 100 rupees, which will realize 105 per share. We can find out cost of preference shares from that data. And also we can find out the weights according to the information that is given. Next, debentures. The company proposes to issue 11-year 15% debentures, but the yield on debentures of similar maturity and risk class is 16%. Flotation cost is 2%. So this is something fresh debentures that we are talking about. So as far as the debentures are concerned, there is going to be a 11-year 15% debentures, but yield on the debentures of similar maturity and risk class is 16%. That automatically means how much is the price is not given. What is the issue price is not given. So issue price has to be calculated because the company is giving an interest of 15%, whereas the expected interest rate in the market, which is of similar maturity and risk class, is 16%. Earlier we already discussed. If this is the situation, debentures can be sold only at a discount because market is expecting 16%, you are giving only 15%. So debentures cannot be sold at par. So the issue price will be definitely less than 100, below par. So it has to be issued at discount. How much? That can be calculated. The valuation of debenture, what could be the current market price or issue price of debentures can be calculated using simply the present value of the interest that will be given by the company for 11 years and present value of redeemable value. Both of them put together will be the existing price or issue price of the debenture, which have to be discounted at 16%. the discount rate at which we have to discount for calculating the present values will be 16% because that is the expected rate of return. Flotation cost 2% is okay. So let us take that face value of the debenture is 100, though it is not particularly given. Always may not be given, but ideally it should have been given. Unfortunately, in this case, it is not given. So face value of the debenture, let us take it as 100. And remaining information is available for calculating KD also, and also for calculating the existing price or issue price of the debenture also. Then we have corporate tax rate, which is 35%, important information. Ignore dividend tax. If nothing is mentioned, we have to always ignore that. Flotation cost would be calculated on face value. So this 2% flotation cost has to be calculated on face value. That means flotation cost per debenture will be 2 rupees. That is the information that is there. So as far as the details given here are concerned, this is only for weights. Book value weights, market value weights. That's all. Only for that purpose, this information is there. And the information, additional information that is given is completely for the purpose of calculating individual costs of capital separately, which we have to compute one by one, naturally, as working notes. Then weighted average cost of capital has to be computed according to book value weights also and market value weights also. Let us calculate one by one the costs of individual sources of finance. First thing first, KE, cost of equity. So cost of equity formula we know already, D1 by P naught plus G. But when there are flotation costs, it will be D1 by P naught minus F plus G. So what is D1 according to the information given in the question? D1 is already taken as 15 divided by current market price or issue price. When issue price is given, that should be taken. So currently they are quoted at 130, it doesn't matter because new issue can only be made at 125. That is 125 per share. Flotation cost will be 5 rupees per share, which means 125 minus 5 plus growth rate we already calculated 6%, which is 0.06. So how much will this be? KE 15 divided by 120 plus 0.06, which means 18.5% is going to be KE, 18.5%. Now comes cost of retained earnings. You cannot say it is equal to KE. Why? Because there are flotation costs. So what is the difference between KE and KR? Only flotation costs. So flotation costs, if you take out, so only 15 by 125. Here we don't have to take out flotation costs. Only D1 by P naught plus G. So in this case, how much will be cost of retained earnings? 15 by 125 plus 0.06, which means 18% is cost of retained earnings. That is the second calculation. KE and KR both are done. Then coming to KP, preference shares, as given in the third point, 15% preference shares with face value of 100 would realize 105 per share. So KP is equal to, dividend will be how much? 15% preference shares on face value of 100 means 15. No tax benefit will be there. 15 divided by issue price is how much? 105. 105. That's it. So 15 by 105. No other information is given. So we don't have to use redeemable preference shares, big formula and all. We don't know any of the other things. So 15 by 105. Directly, that is going to be 14.26% we can say. Right? That is preference shares cost. Other information also is not given. For example, even if you want to use the formula PD plus RV minus NP by N divided by RV plus NP by 2. RV we don't know. Okay, we can assume that as, let us say, face value 100. NP we can take as 105, no problem. But time period is not given. What is the duration of this preference shares? That is also not given. When not given, we cannot use that formula. As simple as that. There we cannot say it is not possible in India to get this kind of preference shares. We don't have to worry about them. Information given in the question has to be used according to our requirements. That's it. So KP is given now calculated, that is 14.26%. Done. Now another important aspect, KD, that is debentures. Debentures, we have this time period 11 years also. We need the information here. First of all, let us take formula. Then we'll see which information is there, which information is not there. Interest into 1 minus tax rate, right, plus RV minus NP divided by N whole divided by RV plus NP by 2. This is the formula for KD. A normal method, not YTM and all that. When nothing is asked particularly of YTM, you don't have to worry about it. Just use normal method. Now, what information is there, what information is not there? Interest is okay, 15% debentures. 15% debentures, okay, face value 100 rupees means it should be 15 rupees interest. Tax rate is given 35%. So, multiplied with 1 minus 0.35. This is there. Redeemable value, how much particularly not given. When nothing is given, redeemable value will be generally 100 only. That means face value only. Redeemable at par when nothing is mentioned. Main point here is net proceeds is not known. Means what is the issue price of these debentures? That is not known. That is not given directly. Indirectly information is given, so that we have to calculate what could be the value of debentures. So now we need to calculate the present value of debentures, the issue price, which could be called as net proceeds. So we know how to do the bond valuation, which is nothing but discounting the future cash flows that can be generated from this particular bond. So what could be the cash flows from that? Naturally, interest and redeemable value. So technically, valuation of bond is about discounting the future cash flows from the bond. How much an investor would be ready to pay? What is the present value of the interest that they are receiving? Plus what is the present value of the redeemable value that they are receiving? So what we should do? We have to take PVIFA for 11 years at the rate of 16%. 16%, 11 years. So that comes to 5.029. 16% because expected rate of return is 16%. Same way, PVIF for 11 years at the rate of 16%, that comes to 0.195. So how much will that be? The value of the bond, 15 multiplied with 15 multiplied with 5.029 and 19.5. Total is around 94.935. This can be the issue price of the bond. That is the valuation of the bond, simply discounting future cash flows arising from the bond. So investors will not pay 100 rupees for it. That is the point. Normally, if issue price is given, we don't need to do this. But here it is not given. So what could be the net proceeds if we issue this debenture now? We can get only 94.935. Why is it going to be issued at a discount? It has to be issued at a discount because expected rate of return from the shareholders or from the debenture holders or investors is 16%, and we are giving only 15% return. So it will be sold at a discount. How much discount is the question? So it has to be sold at 94.935. That is the normal value of it. However, according to the question, there is also another mention about flotation cost, which has to be calculated on face value. That means flotation cost has to be 2 rupees. So take 2 rupees out from this. So how much the company can raise if at all it issues this bond or debenture? That is 92.935 only. That's it. Substitute it here. 92.935 divided by 11 years. N, that is whole divided by 100 plus 92.935 divided by 2. Calculate this cost of debt separately one by one. So 15 multiplied with 0.65 will be 9.75 plus, doing separately, 100 minus 92.935 divided by 11 is going to be approximately 0.6423 divided by 100 plus 92.935 divided by 2. That is going to be 96.4675. That means 9.75 plus 0.6423 divided by 96.4675 multiplied with 100. So approximately the cost of debt KD is going to be 10.77%. Enough, 2 decimals is okay. 10.77% is cost of debt. So we have KE, KR, KP and KD also. Then all that we need to do is, using the book value weights and market value weights, we have to compute weighted average cost of capital, which is a standard straightforward procedure. So what is the source of finance? What is the cost of capital associated with that? What is the weight? And what is weighted average cost, weighted cost? So let us first take book value weights. Book value weights. Source of finance, equity shares, equity share capital, retained earnings, preference shares. What kind of preference shares? As given, 15% preference shares. And then what kind of debentures? 15% debentures. So these are the different sources of finance. And cost of capital we already calculated separately. So one by one you have to take it carefully. KE is going to be 18.5, that means 0.185. Retained earnings, KR is going to be 0.18. Preference KP is going to be 0.1426. 1426. Then debentures KD, as we just now calculated, is going to be 0.1077. That's it. These are individual costs of capital. Now comes weights. Weights will depend upon book values as well as market values also. So now book values, first let us calculate. We can do the separate calculation of weights, and that can be substituted here. So 1 crore 20 lakhs, all in lakhs if you take, that is easy. So 120 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 36 lakhs and 9 lakhs. Same sequence, equity, retained earnings, preference and debentures. What is the total of them? 195 lakhs. So weightage has to be calculated simply by taking individual component divided by total. That is a weightage. Do the calculation separately. So this will be the weightage. Take 4 decimals at least when you do the calculations, but make sure the total of weights is equal to 1. So this is the weightage. Then all that you need to do is multiply the cost of capital with the respective weights, and also make sure you take 4 decimals at least, then total that. This is percentage. So what is the final answer here? Taking book value weights, the weighted average cost of capital is 17.28%. That is the answer. That's it. That is book value weights. Now let us take market value weights also. Market values are given in the question. All that we need to do is we need to again recalculate this. The main point is, in case of market value, the equity shares and retained earnings put together only will have market value. But unfortunately, the cost of equity and cost of retained earnings is not same. And as we discussed earlier, in those cases what we should do, we should split the market value into 2 categories. How much is for equity and how much is for retained earnings within themselves. So 200 into 120 by 150, that is 160, or we can even say, so here 12:3 means 4:1. So 4:1. This is 40. That is the total market capitalization represented by equity and retained earnings separately. Because the cost of equity and cost of retained earnings is same, we cannot take same amount for both. So 160 and 40 is going to be the market value of the equity shares and market value of retained earnings. though practically it is not possible to segregate them. So what we have done, market capitalization is split into equity and retained earnings using their book values only in the ratio of 4:1. That's it. So now recalculate the market values and then we have to do the calculation once again. Anyway, first equity as we calculated just now 160, retained earnings 40, preference shares market value 33.75 given there already. 10.4 is the market value of debentures. So these are the market values. Now recalculate the weights, individual amount divided by total. That's all. Recalculate that once again. Total of weight should be 1. Then multiply the weights with the respective costs of capital. Then we will get weighted average cost of capital. In this case, it is going to be 17.5%. This is using market value weights. That is about computation of weighted average cost of capital using book value weights as well as market value weights. That was question number 5, the last one in the ICA material. Now let us solve some more questions for practice which were given in the past examinations. Now read this question carefully. The following is the capital structure of Siemens Company Limited as on 31st December 1998. Equity shares, 10,000 shares are there of 100 rupees each. Total amount is 10 lakhs. Preference shares, 10% preference shares of 100 rupees each, 4 lakhs. 12% debentures are there worth 6 lakhs. Total capital structure is 20 lakhs. And this is the composition of the capital structure given in the question. The market price of the company's share is 110 rupees and it is expected that a dividend of 10 rupees per share would be declared for the year 1998. Expected means already we are talking about future, which means already D1 is given as 10 rupees per share. That is not D0. D0 is about past or present. Expected always about future. That is D1 itself given as 10 rupees per share. Growth rate is given as 6%. So G is 6%. We have P0, the current market price of the share, that is 110 rupees. So simply we can find out KE, the cost of equity, using the Gordon's formula, D1 by P0 plus G. So 10 divided by 110 plus G is 0.06, which is 6%. So how much is going to be the cost of equity? So 10 by 110 plus 0.06. So approximately that can be taken as 15.09%. That is KE. That is calculated separately as a working note. And then further information is given that company is in 50% tax bracket. What is required is compute weighted average cost of capital. So simple, straightforward question. For that we need also KP and KD. KP nothing to calculate because 10% preference shares means KP will be 10%. KD, that is cost of debt, will be after tax because these debentures are 12% debentures and the tax rate is 50%. So naturally KD is going to be 6%. So we have KD, KP and KE and the capital structure also. All that we need to do is compute the weighted average cost of capital. So same way, source of finance, cost of capital, then weight, then weighted cost. So source of finance, same sequence you can take, equity shares, then 10% preference shares, then 12% debentures. Cost of capital for equity shares KE already we calculated, that is 15.09%. So 0.1509, that will be the cost of capital. For 10% preference shares, cost of capital will be 10% only. That is not going to be any different. So 0.1. You don't need to put all these zeros. Just for uniformity, I am showing that. Just 0.1 is okay. Don't waste time on putting zeros after the number after the decimal. So just 0.1, that is 10% preference shares. Cost of preference shares also 10%. Debentures cost will be 0.06 because 6% is the cost of debt. Since 12% debentures and 50% tax bracket, KD is 6%. That is the costs individually. Now we need weights. Weights can be calculated separately by taking the totals. We can save time by using the lakhs. So 10 lakhs, 4 lakhs and 6 lakhs. Total of that is going to be 20 lakhs, and weight of equity share capital will be 10 divided by total, that is 20. Same way for preference it will be 4 divided by 20, which is 0.2. For debt it is 6 divided by 20, which is 0.3. Total of weights you have to be always sure it has to be 1. Then weighted cost is just multiplication of these two, and totaling that will give us, take 4 decimals at least, then the total of that will give us the overall cost of capital. In percentage terms, that is going to be 11.35%. That is the answer. Weighted average cost of capital from the information that is given below. That is question number 1. Question number 2. Assuming that in order to finance an expansion plan, the company intends to borrow a fund of 10 lakhs rupees bearing 14% rate of interest, what will be the company's, it's not received, it is revised weighted average cost of capital. This financing decision is expected to increase the dividend from 10 rupees to 12 rupees per share. However, the market price of equity share is expected to decline from 110 to 105 per share. So there is going to be change in KE also, and there is a fresh debt that is going to be issued for an amount of 10 lakhs rupees bearing 14% rate of interest. Now what is asked is the company's revised weighted average cost of capital. So we have to be very careful. Marginal cost of capital is only the cost of capital related to the fresh source of finance. That is not what is asked here. Marginal cost of capital is different. Revised weighted average cost of capital is different. In this case, what is asked? Revised weighted average cost of capital is asked, means including the new source of finance also, we have to recalculate the weighted average cost of capital. But there is going to be a change in the capital structure also, and there is going to be a change in the cost of capital, particularly cost of equity also. So let us take one more thing. Amounts can be different. Now equity shares cost of capital is different. Now we have a new debt that is called 14% debt. Let us call this 14% debt or loan, whatever you can call it. It intends to borrow, it said. Borrow means loan. 14% rate of interest, 10 lakhs rupees is going to be that amount, 10 lakhs. Of course, equity shares will continue to be the same, original 10 lakhs. And preference shares will continue to be the same, original 4 lakhs. Debentures will continue to be the original old ones, which are 6 lakhs. So keeping them same, what is going to be the weight of each of them now? That has to be recalculated. So for equity shares, 10 by 30 we have to take. That will be 0.333. Then respectively for the others also we can find out the weights. So weight is nothing but what is the proportion of each of the capital in the total capital. So equity shares is now 1/3, preference shares is 0.133, which means 13.3%, and 14% debt also is 1/3, and now the new debt is around 20%. The total of the weights should be equal to 1 always. So that is weights. Cost of debt, the new debt, it is easy because there is no special thing to do here. Since tax rate is 50% and 14% is the rate of interest, half of that will be the cost of new debt. which will be 7%. That means 0.07. Then cost of equity will change. Why? Because there is a new debt that is issued. There is going to be some change. Because of the new debt, there is going to be definitely the debt applied for some operations which will give more profits. That means the dividend also can become more. Those are logics we don't need, but to be understood definitely. Dividend is expected now, instead of 10, it is 12. But market price is expected to decline from 110 to 105. Generally, this happens when you take new debt. Automatically, the perception of the risk towards the company will also increase. So naturally, the market price generally will go down. There is no rule like that. So in this case, it has gone down. So D1 is going to be 12. P0 is 105 now. Plus growth rate is going to be same, which is 6% as given already. So now recalculate the cost of equity. So how much is the new cost of equity? That has to be recalculated. That comes to around 17.43%. 17.43%. That means 0.1743. 0.1743. That is a new cost of equity. Substitute that, multiply with the respective weights, you get the revised weighted average cost of capital, which comes out to 10.68%. Earlier the cost of capital was 11.35. Now it is 10.68%. Though it is not asked, we should understand what happened, why it happened. What happened is, first of all, the overall cost of capital has reduced. That is clear. Why it happened? In spite of the cost of equity being increased, cost of equity earlier was only 15.09. Now it has become 17.43. Cost of equity increased actually, but still the overall cost of capital reduced. Why it happened, how it happened? That is the advantage of debt. That is again the advantage of leverage, the financial leverage, which brings cheap funds. The cost of debt which is now taken is only 7% effectively after tax. So that is a cheap fund. So that reduces the overall cost of capital, because now the new debt is going to be 1/3 of the total total capital, and its debt cost is less compared with equity. So naturally what happened? Overall cost of capital or weighted average cost of capital has reduced rather than increased because of debt being a cheaper source of finance. So in spite of equity or cost of equity increasing, still the overall cost of capital reduced because of cheaper source of finance, debt, and its proportion in the new capital structure is more. Because of that, weighted average cost of capital reduced. So it is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Though market price reduced, though cost of equity increased, still effectively for the company, it has resulted in a good result. That is, overall cost of capital reduced due to the debt. So that is something we will understand in capital structure theories also, but it can be with example understood here. When debt is issued, it is going to generally reduce the overall cost of capital. That is one of the questions. And most important point here to be noted is marginal cost of capital is different and revised weighted average cost of capital is different. This difference has to be very clearly noted. Marginal cost of capital is to calculate the cost of capital of the only new source of finance, only for the fresh funds. Whereas revised weighted average cost of capital is to recalculate the old cost of capital. So there is a difference there. That is one of the questions, past examinations. It was given. Now moving on to another question. XYZ Limited has the following book value capital structure. Equity capital 10 rupees each, fully paid up at par 15 crores. 11% preference share capital fully paid up at par 1 crore. Retained earnings is there 20 crores. 13.5% debentures are there around 10 crores. Term loans are there 15% term loans, that is 12.5 crores. This is the capital structure of some company, that is XYZ Limited. Next expected dividend. Again, next expected dividend means D1. That has to be clearly read. That D1 is how much on the equity shares per share is going to be 3.6 rupees. Okay, that is given directly. Dividend per share is expected to grow at the rate of 7%, which means growth rate is 7%. That is given. Market price per share is 40 rupees. That means P0 currently is 40 rupees. That is also given. Now, preference stock redeemable after 10 years is currently selling at 75 rupees per share. That is the current market price. So we have to calculate KP using the current market price. So redeemable after 10 years, which means already we know the duration also. So we have to use the full-fledged formula for calculating KP, which is a redeemable preference shares formula. Same way for debentures also, which are redeemable after 6 years. Current market price is 80 rupees per debenture. So we have to calculate KP here, and debentures current market price 80 rupees, KD has to be calculated here separately. Income tax rate is 40%. That is the tax rate applicable to the company. What is required is, you are required to calculate the weighted average cost of capital using book value proportions and market value proportions. That is the first question. Then further one more question is given related to the marginal cost of capital. We'll come to that later. This is a perfect 10 marks question which can be expected. Similar question was given earlier also, and most probably similar type of questions can be also expected in the upcoming examinations anytime. So first point naturally is going to be computation of individual costs of capital. Individual costs of capital, when we calculate, first we can calculate the KE, cost of equity. So what is cost of equity? D1 by P0 plus G. So D1 is 3.6 divided by P0 is 40. Growth rate is 7%, which means 0.07. So 3.6 divided by 40 plus 0.07 comes to around 16% as KE. That is the cost of equity. That is one calculation done. Next, for retained earnings, will there be any difference? In this case, no. Why? Because there is no flotation cost given. When there are no flotation costs, when there is no information about personal taxes, cost of equity and cost of retained earnings will be same. Preference, yes. Preference we have to calculate separately. It is 11% preference share capital. So formula first of all has to be clearly known. That is preference dividend plus RV minus NP divided by N whole divided by RV plus NP divided by 2. Substitute. How much is going to be the preference dividend? 11% preference shares, 100 rupees face value, means naturally 11 rupees will be the preference dividend, no tax treatment here. RV, redeemable value, will be naturally same par value if nothing is mentioned. But NP how much? Now current market price is how much? That is NP. That can be taken as NP, which is 75 rupees preference stock, that is. So that divided by N, how many number of years preference stock is going to be there for issued? 10 years. So N is how much here? 10. Whole divided by 100 plus 75 divided by 2. That's all. Here we have calculation to be done. 100 minus 75 divided by 10 plus 11, that is in the numerator, that comes to 13.5 divided by 100 plus 75 divided by 2, that comes to 87.5. So how much is going to be KP now? 13.5 divided by 87.5 multiplied with 100. Percentage terms, it is going to be 15.43%. What is this? KP. So we calculated KP also, KE also, and KE is going to be KR also. That is same, unless there is a flotation cost and personal taxes. That is the KP, we got it. Next, KD can also be calculated in the same formula. Only difference is it will be interest into 1 minus tax rate also will be there. So how much is going to be the interest here for debentures? 13.5% debentures, 100 rupees each. That is going to be definitely 13.5 rupees. Multiplied with 1 minus tax rate. Tax rate is given as 40%. So 0.4. I into 1 minus tax rate plus RV minus NP by N. RV will be same face value when nothing is mentioned. Face value is 100 rupees for debentures. NP how much? Current market price how much? That is 80 rupees. So 100 minus 80 divided by, what is the duration of this debentures? 6 years. 6 years. That is the term, we can call it. Duration is a different concept for bonds that you will learn in final. For general English wise, we can use the word duration, but technically duration is something different. Anyway, so the term of the debentures, how many years they are going to be issued, are for 6 years, after 6 years. So 100 minus 80 divided by 6 divided by 100 plus 80 divided by 2. That's it. How much is going to be this has to be calculated. Once again, 100 minus 80 by 6. That is one thing, 3.33, keep it aside. 13.5 multiplied with 0.6, that is 8.1, keep it aside. So what is the numerator here? 11.433, whatever. 11.43, let us say, numerator. Denominator, 180 by 2, naturally is going to be 90. So 11.433 divided by 90, multiplied with 100, approximately KD, let us put it here so that it is visible. KD is going to be 12.7%. So we have KD also, KP also, KE also, that is there. And instead, not only these debentures, there is term loans also, which is 15% term loans. They are not traded in the market, so current market price and all will not be there. So no problem for that. But it will not be 15% for that. The cost of capital related to that term loans will be 15% multiplied with 1 minus tax rate. In this case, since tax rate is 40%, 1 minus tax rate will be 0.6, 60%. 15 into 0.6, that will be 9% only. That is related to another KD for term loans. So we have all the individual costs of capital, and we can calculate the weighted average cost of capital using different weights. First, let us take book value weights, then we can go to market value weights, whatever. So first, book value weights. Using book value weights, we are calculating. So you have to write the statement very clearly, and in the bracket you have to write book value weights. Statement showing computation of weighted average cost of capital, in the bracket book using book value weights. That is first question. What are the sources of finance? Write them in the same sequence, preferably equity share capital, then 11% preference share capital, 11% preference share capital. Then there is retained earnings also. Then 13.5% debentures. Debentures, these are. Then 15% term loans. Use the same description. Term loans. So equity share capital, 11% preference share capital, retained earnings, 13.5% debentures, and 15% term loans. We are using book value weight, so we have to take the same amounts there as given in the question, crores. So 15 crores, then preference 1 crore, then retained earnings 20 crores, then debentures 10 crores, then term loans 12.5 crores. Total of that is 58.5 crores. Right? Now the weights have to be calculated carefully. Weights, individual amount divided by total amount. Similarly, for others also, you have to calculate the weights. Do the calculations. Total of weight should be 1. 15 divided by 58.5, 1 divided by 58.5, like that. Take as many decimals as possible, preferably 4 at least. That is always suggestible. 4 decimals you take. Total has to be 1. Make sure of that. If you have to adjust any of the 4th decimal, that's not a problem. Don't worry about it. If required, adjust that. Make sure total is 1. That is about weights. Costs of capital individually we already calculated. KE. How much was that KE as we calculated? That is 16%, which means 0.16. 11% preference shares. KP 15.43%, 0.1543. That is KP, cost of preference shares. Retained earnings same as cost of equity. It is not going to be different. So it is same 16%. Once again, why? Because there is no flotation cost information given. Then no personal taxes are also mentioned. So same as KE, KR also can be taken. Then 13.5% debentures, we calculated KD for that, 12.7%, 0.127. That is 13.5% debentures. And the term loans, 15% term loans have a KD of 9% after tax. That is 0.09. That's all. So we have all the cost of capital information. Then multiplication of cost of capital with the respective weight will give us weighted average cost of capital. Totaling them will give us weighted average cost of capital. So the answer here is 13.93%. That is the answer. When we used book value weights, that is one calculation asked in the first question. Another calculation has to be done using market value weights. So market value weights has to be done carefully. For that, we have to first of all know the market value very carefully. The totals of market values have to be taken. Whereas cost of capital is not going to be different. Only weights are going to change. Cost of capital is going to be same as earlier. Only weights will change. So what will be the weightage in the market value terms for each of the items? That has to be now calculated carefully. How can we do that? First, let us take equity capital. Equity capital, how many shares are there first of all? See, there are 15 crores rupees of equity share capital. 10 rupees each means how many number of shares are there? 1.5 crores number of shares are there. And what is the market price per share now? Market price per share is 40 rupees each share given. That means what is the market capitalization of this company per equity shares naturally? That is 60 crores. That is the market value of the company as a whole. But that includes retained earnings also. So that can be done now in the same proportion. We can distribute this 60 for equity share capital and retained earnings. Though the cost of equity and cost of retained earnings is not different in this case, make it a practice so that it is like standardized procedure. So 60 is the market value, and that can be done in 3:4 proportion. So 3:4. So 60 into 3 by 7, approximately it will be 25.71, and 60 into 4 by 7, that will be, make sure the total is 60. So 34.29, let us say. So 34.29 is 25.71, total 60. So the market value is split between equity shares and retained earnings using the book values of equity shares and retained earnings. That is one thing. In this case, actually not required, but as a procedure, you can just follow that whenever there is retained earnings so that there is no confusion. So let us put these numbers here. Equity share capital is 25.71. Retained earnings is 34.29. 34.29. Okay. Now coming to preference shares. How many shares are there? That has to be calculated. We have 1 crore rupees of preference share capital. 1 crore rupees. 100 rupees each. That means how many number of preference shares would be there? 1 lakh preference shares will be there. Number of preference shares, that is 1 lakh. Right? But what is the market value of the preference shares now? Only 75 rupees. So 1 lakh into 75 means only 75 lakhs is the current market value. Since we are taking all of them in crores, 75 lakhs means automatically 0.75 crores. So 1 crore is the book value. 0.75 crores is only the market value of preference shares. That is 0.75. Done. Retained earnings already we took. Debentures. Let us take market value of them. Directly we can take it also. Since 100 rupees debentures, 10 crores is the book value. 80% only they are trading at. Means 80 rupees only they are trading at. So naturally it will be 8 crores. You don't need number of debentures and then multiplication. Still it is going to be the same. So 8 crores is the market value of debentures. Next, Term loans will not have market value, so same book value has to be taken. We cannot ignore that. Same book value has to be taken, which is 12.5 crores. Where market value is not there, book value has to be taken. So that is 12.5 crores. So total of all this now, market values of all this is 81.25. Now naturally the weights have changed. They have to be changed. So what is the new weights now? 25.71 divided by 81.25, like that. For each of the other things, you have to calculate market value weights. Total of weight should be 1. And now, what is going to be the weighted average cost of capital, which is the multiplication of individual cost of capital and the respective weight, that comes to 14.59%. 14.59% is the weighted average cost of capital using market value weights. Earlier book value weights, it was 13.93%. That's it. That is the first question in this first bit, which has both A and B, book value proportions and market value proportions. We got the answers: 13.93%, 14.59%. Now look at the second portion of this question, which is a continuation of this. Define weighted marginal cost of capital schedule for a company. Define in the sense that's a theory question. What is weighted marginal cost of capital? You have to write that. If it raises 10 crores next year, so this is only marginal cost of capital, not revised weighted average cost of capital. It is marginal cost of capital we are talking about. That has to be calculated. Define in the sense, actually here we can say compute the weighted average cost of capital of the company if it raises 10 crores next year, given the following information. The amount will be raised by equity and debt in equal proportions. So first point, 10 crores has to be raised equally, equity and debt. How much equal means? 5 crores, 5 crores, 5 crores equity, 5 crores debt. Second point, the company expects to retain 1.5 crores earnings next year. That means within this equity also, 1.5 crores is going to be retained earnings. 3.5 crores is going to be fresh issue of shares. That is new capital to be issued. So that is another point. So there is retained earnings of 1.5 crores and fresh equity shares to be issued of worth 3.5 crores. The additional issue of equity shares will result in the net price per share being fixed at 32 rupees. Now market price is different. Naturally KE for the fresh issue will also be different. That only has changed. Dividend is not mentioned. Not mentioned means same old dividend will continue, same old growth rate will continue. Whatever is mentioned, that only we have to take as a new change. So KE will now change definitely. How much will that be? We can calculate. How much was the dividend earlier? As expected, 3.6 rupees. D1 by P naught now is not 40, it is 32. Growth rate is still the same as given. It was 7%. So how much is the new equity now? Cost of equity. 3.6 divided by 32 plus 0.07. That comes to 18.25%. That is the cost of equity for the fresh issue of capital. Now coming to the debt capital, it is raised by way of term loans which will cost 15% for the first 2.5 crores and 16% for the next 2.5 crores. So this entire 5 crores is also not raised in one way. It has two different parts in that. 2.5 crores will cost 15% and another 2.5 crores will cost 16%. So naturally the cost of debt also will change. What is the tax rate here? Tax rate is 40%. So first portion 2.5 crores will have 15 and 2.6, that is 9% effective cost of debt, 1 minus tax rate. Then the next one 16 and 2.6, that will be 9.6%. So cost of debt is different. Now we have four different components of capital for the fresh capital, and what we are calculating is not revised weighted average cost of capital, we are calculating marginal cost of capital. So fresh, completely new, though the way we calculate is same, but the context in which we are calculating is different. So we have to take particularly whatever is relevant here. So whatever is relevant here, definitely preference is not there, take it out. Equity share capital, cost of them will be different now. So what is the debt here raised? One is 15% debt, second one is 16% debt. That is going to be term loans only. So 15% term loans, 16% term loans. So first we can have the respective costs of capital. Then we can go on to the weights also. 15% term loans, how much is the cost of debt? For that we calculated already 9%. So 0.09. Then 16% term loans, it will be 0.096, 9.6%. Equity share capital, cost of equity is going to be 18.25% for the 3.5 crores. So 0.1825. So far, so good. Another important point here to note is retained earnings. Cost will not be 18.25. Why? Because to that extent, there is no fresh issue required. This 18.25 is only applicable when fresh issue is happening. Only when fresh issue is happening, there is a change in this price. So what is the existing cost of equity, whatever we calculated earlier, same cost of equity and cost of retained earnings will continue because there is no need of issue to that extent. So the cost of retained earnings, what was taken as earlier, same can be taken now also. How much was that earlier? 16%. Same 16% can be taken now since there is no need of fresh issue. When fresh issue is happening to the extent of the equity shares now to be issued, it is 18.25 cost. For retained earnings, it is a old cost only. There will not be any difference in that because there is no fresh issue happening to that extent. So 16% only will be taken as cost of retained earnings, which was the earlier cost of equity, same as before. That's the cost of capital individually. Now we have the amounts also. Equity shares, how much is the amount? We have to first of all go to this structure of the extra 10 crores. Equity will be 3.5 crores. Then retained earnings will be 1.5 crores. Then 15% debt will be 2.5 crores. And another 2.5 crores will be from 16% debt. Now naturally the weights have to be also changed, recalculate the weights and recalculate the weighted average cost of capital. This is not a revised weighted average cost of capital. This is the marginal cost of capital only for raising 10 crores. This is applicable to only the 10 crores, not for the company as a whole. So how much is that? Taking individual weights multiplied with individual costs of capital, you will get weighted cost. Total that it will get, you will get 13.44%. Okay. So weights total has to be always 1. That's it. That is the question number 2 within this broader question. So this is a perfect 10 marks question, what we can expect. There is nothing else beyond this. At the maximum, there can be, instead of normal computation of cost of debt, there can be YTM methodology. Or for cost of equity, instead of normal formula, Gordon's formula, maybe there is capital asset pricing model. Only those minor changes will be there. But broader question will be always similar to this, where the existing capital structure is given and existing data is given, from which you can find out existing weighted average cost of capital. Second part of the question can change. For existing cost of capital also, always for a 10 marks, usually it will be both asked, book values and market values. So when you calculate book value weights and market value weights, you have to keep in mind cost of capital is not changing, only weights are changing. So just one calculation change, total amount will change. But of course you have to do it all again on paper. But the second part of the question, as we discussed earlier also, can be two types. Maybe sometimes marginal cost of capital is asked, as asked in this question, or sometimes revised weighted average cost of capital is asked. So you have to read the question carefully, what is asked. If marginal is asked and you calculated revised, you will get 0 marks, and vice versa. So you have to be calculating what is exactly asked. Is marginal cost of capital asked or revised weighted average cost of capital asked? Accordingly, you have to do the calculations. If marginal is asked, only focus on the fresh issue, fresh requirement of finance. Existing old things do not matter. Only cost of capital, if some of the existing things are continuing, they may continue. Otherwise, everything is new data. But revised weighted average cost of capital has to be done all over again by including the fresh financing also. So that will be different calculation as we did in the earlier question. This is different calculation as we did in this question. These are past examination questions which are quite popular. Now, one more question. Let us do for practice. JKL Limited has the following book value capital structure on 31st March. Equity share capital is given, 11.5% preference share capital is given, and 10% debentures is given. This is the book value capital structure. Then the equity shares of the company is selling at 20 rupees. That means the P0 is now 20 rupees. It is expected that, again, expected that means D1. The company will pay next year a dividend of 2 rupees per equity share. So D1 is 2 rupees already given. Growth rate, which is expected to grow at 5%. So you have to write all these things, substitute, then get the answer. Tax rate is 35%. So what is KE now? Straight away we can find out. 2 divided by 20 plus 0.05. D1 by P0 plus G. So 2 divided by 20 plus 0.05. That is 15% is KE. That's it. Then KP, if nothing is mentioned, that will be 11.5% only. No other data is there. But KD will be different because of tax rate. Because tax rate is 35%. How much will be KD now? 6.5% naturally. Because interest rate multiplied with 1 minus tax rate. So 6.5% is KD, 11.5% is KP, KE is 15%. All the individual costs of capital we calculated. What is required here is compute weighted average cost of capital of the company based on the existing capital structure. First question. Let us do that. Simple calculation. So what are there in the capital structure? First you have to write them in the same sequence. Equity share capital. Then we have 11.5% preference shares. Then we have 10% debentures. So these are the various sources of finance. Individual cost of capital already we calculated. KE 15%, 0.15, that means. Preference will be 11.5 only, that means 0.115. 10% debentures, KD is going to be 6.5%, 0.065. That is KD. So KE, KP and KD separately taken. Now we have to take weights. 40, 10, 30. 40, 10, 30. Total is 80. So we have to recalculate the weights carefully. Total of the weight should be equal to 1. So 50%, 12.5%, that is 1.5% converted to decimals. Take 4 decimals preferably always. Then multiply the cost with weights and total them. You will get weighted average cost of capital 11.38%. You have to do it on paper. 11.38%. That is the first question answer. 11.38%. Then moving on to the second question. Within this, compute the new weighted average. New means revised. So it's not marginal. It is revised weighted average cost of capital if the company raises an additional 20 lakhs debt by issuing 12% debentures. This would result in increasing the expected equity dividend to 2.4 rupees and leave the growth rate unchanged, but price of the equity share will fall to 16 rupees per share. So now what happened? KE has changed because of this. KE is now going to be how much? Revised KE. 2.4 divided by 16 plus same growth rate which was earlier also 5%, now also 5%. So 2.4 divided by 16 plus 0.05, that comes to 20% new KE changed. For the fresh debt only, 12% debentures they are. So 12 into 0.65 per minus tax rate. So what is the KD for this 12% debentures? That is going to be 7.8%. These all calculations have to be shown. Then naturally the totals weights also will change. So let us just once again do this with one more new thing that is added. So what is the new thing now? 12% debentures. What is the new cost of capital for equity now? It is not anymore 15% like earlier. Now it is 20%. So 0.2. Preference shares will continue to have 11.5 only. And let us recalculate so that it will not be confusing. So equity share capital 20% is the cost of equity. Preference will have same 11.5%. Earlier 10% debentures will continue to have same 6.5% cost of debt. Now the new debt, that is new debentures 12%, will have 7.88%. So 0.078. That is going to be the new cost of capital for new debt. Now coming to the weights, you have to take the totals. Weights wise, equity share capital is continuing to be 40 lakhs only. No new thing. Preference shares will continue to be 10 lakhs only. Now the new debt is going to be 20 lakhs. That is 20 lakhs. But the old debt is already there, which is 30 lakhs. Total is now 100 lakhs, which is 1 crore. Now the weights definitely will be different. So how much are the new weights now if you calculate? 40%, 10%, 20%, 30%. Same thing. 40, 10, 20, 30. In 100. So these are the new weights. New cost of capital, only for cost of equity it is different. New debt it is different, but preference and old debt is continued to be the same. With this, if you multiply them and total them, the new weighted average cost of capital or revised weighted average cost of capital can be calculated as 12.66%. Earlier it was 11.38%. Now it is 12.66%. So here what happened? It has increased. Revised weighted average cost of capital is more. In spite of the fact that debt is a cheaper thing, it is a cheaper source of finance, still overall cost of capital increased because the cost of equity increased tremendously. Earlier also the portion of equity was 40, the weight was 50%. Now the weight has just reduced it to 40%, but the cost of equity increased more. So completely different result has come when compared with the first question that we did. In the first question, the overall cost of capital reduced because of issue of new debt. So now what we can conclude, is there any rule that whenever new debt is issued, the overall cost of capital reduces? No, not necessarily. It may reduce also, it may increase also. Depends upon what is its impact. If the new debt is increasing the cost of equity tremendously, whatever the benefit the cheaper source of finance called debt is bringing is nullified by the excessive cost of equity. In this case, from 15% cost of equity increased to 20%, which has resulted in overall cost of capital actually increasing than decreasing. So this is one more, we can say, precursor to the capital structure topic, how debt can actually be useful and sometimes how can it be dangerous also. In one case it was good, in this case it is not good. So both are there. Debt is always like salt. You use it judiciously, it will be good, adding to the taste. Otherwise, it can spoil the dish also. So those things are all going to be discussed in the capital structure chapter. These are only just for understanding purposes. You don't have to do any interpretation analysis as far as these calculations are concerned. Just compute when asked to compute. But when asked to comment, you have to comment. The third one is a theory question. Comment on the use of weights in the computation of weighted average cost of capital. What is the comment here required naturally? What kinds of weights can be taken? We know that there are two weights which can be taken. Book value weights also, market value weights also. Okay, if you want to give a judgment on that, definitely market value weights are better than book value weights. That comment you can pass. So the weighted average cost of capital can be computed using book value weights, taking the figures from balance sheet or taking the current market prices of the respective financial instruments. However, since market values represent more realistic numbers, market value weights are preferred and more scientific than book value weights. That's it. Like that, one comment can be given also at the end of it. It has to be given because it is also asked. These type of questions can also be asked, and these are some of the past examination questions. With that, we can conclude this chapter or topic of cost of capital. All the relevant aspects of this chapter and topic have been discussed in detail, but you need to practice these questions more and more, and you have to be very careful, most importantly, to read the question carefully, what is the requirement. And individual costs of capital also, every type of methodology you should be thorough with. Don't think only one model or one type of formula will be enough. No, any type of formula may be required to be used, or any type of calculation may be required to be used. Whatever is asked in the question, we have to be able to use that. Right? Fine then. We'll close this session today and we'll discuss about capital structure theories, and dividend decisions, which are also part of this continuation of the same topic in the upcoming sessions. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.